Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I am going to be walking you through the books that I read in the month of July and the books that I'm planning to read in the month of August. A couple of things. I had a pretty good reading month in the month of July. It was a pretty, kind of steady month. I didn't have any particular misses. And I did discover a couple of favourites and also a couple of new authors that I'm really excited to continue reading. The other thing that I will say is that I think I might be over my fantasy slump, finally. I've had it for quite a long time, and for the first time in a very long time, I feel excited to pick up fantasy books again. So when I walk you through what I'm planning to read in the month of August, you'll notice that there are quite a few fantasy series that I really want to pick up. Well, before we get into that though, I'm going to walk you through what I read last month. So let's kick off. So the first book that I've read was an author that I've been wanting to read for quite some time. And I was really excited and happy that I did actually start reading some of her backlist, and that was Excellent Women by Barbara Pym. Now, I wanted to read this book because I think there is a very particular subgenre. It's called women's fiction now, but I don't know if that's necessarily a great genre, to be honest. I don't really know what that means. Does it just mean that it's written by a woman? I guess. But anyway, for lack of a better term to use, there is this particular subgenre where the books are very low stakes, they're very cozy, and they're all about women just living their lives. Now, I've talked about the series by Beth Brower that goes by the name of Emma M. Lyon. And I would also kind of almost couple Jane Austen in this, where the books give you an insight into society at that time, but it's just more about women living their lives and getting through their kind of challenges and the ups and downs of life. And I really like that subsection of literature, particularly when it's just not too intense. It's really quite slice of lifey, and it's just all about the characters and what they're doing and what they're going through. And Barbara Pym, when I was doing my research for more books like Jane Austen's books and the Emma M. Lyon books, Barbara Pym came up quite a few times, and she's actually quite a famous author in the UK, which I didn't actually realise because I'd never heard of her before. This was a couple of years back, and I just wanted something relatively cosy after reading quite a few heavy books, and it hit the note exactly, and I'm really excited to read more of Barbara Pym's stuff going forward. I gave this one 4 stars. It just made me laugh, it made me think about my own life, even though this is a book that's set, I think it's about 100 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. You still feel a deep kind of kinship to these characters because what they're going through is what everybody goes through regardless of the time that it's written in. So it was very lovely. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more Barbara Pym going forward. The next one that I read was a fantasy book, and I will be doing my review of this very soon, so watch this space. So I won't talk about this one that much, and that is The West Passage by Jared Pesachek. And this is a very unique fantasy book that I'm not going to say anything about until my review, to be honest. I really enjoyed it though, and I really like the writing, I really like the characters. It was very meta, and it was a bit of a trip. I gave this one 4 stars. A great fantasy standalone when you're looking for something a bit more intense and a bit more philosophical, but that isn't going to require you to read multiple books. The next one that I read was another cozy, I guess, women's fiction book. And this is another one that came up a lot when I was doing my research for cozy women's fiction. And that was Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont by Elizabeth Taylor. A short but very cozy, lovely book. It's actually quite sad, this book. I didn't think it was going to be as sad as it was. And yeah, I really liked it. I don't think it hit quite as well as Excellent Women, but I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.75 stars. I think it did scratch the itch, but not necessarily as much as Excellent Women did, but still solid and still an author that I want to read more from. Then I read what I think will become a bit of a cult classic in the fantasy realm of things, and that was the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty. I read The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and I loved it, folks. I really, really enjoyed it. This to me is an example of how fantasy should be done in 2025. it uses a lot of the same tropes, but he does, and it reads like classic fantasy, but he does it in a way that is very fresh, that's quite new, and it just felt really great to read. I think this has actually reinvigorated my desire to read more fantasy again, so thank you, Ken Liu, for that. I hope you can keep it up. And yeah, I'm planning to continue on with this series over the course of this year because I'm really excited to see where it goes. I will be doing a full review of that as well. Let me know if you want a spoiler-filled section as well, because I have been debating doing that. Let me know what you want, but at the very least I'll do a non-spoiler one, and I may do a spoiler section too. This is very much in flux, this rating, because I will see how I feel about it after I finish the quartet, but right now it's sitting at like a 4.25, 4.5 stars. So very, very solid start to the series. I know this one is almost like a prequel, so it's quite separate from the other 3 books, but I'm still just going to wait to see how my thoughts evolve over the course of the series. I may end up increasing it or decreasing it depending on how that goes. Very good book though. Can't wait to talk more about it in my dedicated review. Then I started reading 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. By many, this is considered to be the best book ever written, and I temporarily DNF'd it because I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. I think it was the writing. It is quite dense, the writing. I wasn't enjoying it at the time, and so I decided to pause it because it just wasn't settling into my brain in the way that I would want it to. I was buddy reading this with James, and he also felt the same way. So we will probably give it another go at some point, not in the near future, but maybe next year or the year after that. But for now, it's a pass. Then I read a comic because I watched the Batman film, the one with Robert Pattinson, and I absolutely loved it, folks. I loved it. Such a good film. I loved it way more than I thought I would. I love the idea of detective Batman rather than playboy billionaire Batman, even though I love Christian Bale as Batman and he will probably still be my favourite Batman forever. I really loved this version of Batman where he's a detective. So I wanted to read a comic after I'd finished the film before I started The Penguin, and I asked James, who's a bit of a comic book buff, and he recommended out of the ones that I already have, because I do own quite a few Batman comics, that I should pick up Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, and I really loved it. I thought it was excellent. It's kind of like the early part of Batman's journey, and it's quite darker than I thought it would be. And I just really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 stars. I'm going to be reading more comic books, hopefully, in the coming months and years, because I always forget. And then when I read one, it reminds me how much I love comics as an art form. And the art in that comic is absolutely stunning. Absolutely loved it. It scratched my itch before I started The Penguin, which I did watch and I absolutely loved as well. I just can't wait to see where the new kind of iteration of Batman goes. Then I picked up another volume of Vagabonds. That was volume 11 by Takehiko Inoue, and I gave this one a 4.5 stars. I've definitely realised that I like the action ones less. Where there's more action, I like those ones less. Where there's more philosophy and just characters talking, I like those a lot more. This one had a pretty good balance of both. It was really solid. I keep loving this manga the more that I read it. Then we read our buddy read pick of the month, and that was The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a very interesting one because there was so much about this book that I loved, but there was always so much about this book that I found really difficult to read and comprehend. I will talk more about this in my review because I will be doing a dedicated review on this one. But overall, it's currently kind of sitting at like a 3.5, 3.75 stars. And then the final book that I read in the month was one of my favorite authors, and that was Virgin Soil by Ivan Turgenev. This is considered to be his magnum opus, and I absolutely loved it. Did I love it as much as Fathers and Children? I don't know, but I absolutely loved it. The only thing I will say is I didn't actually like the translation, which was done by Constance Garnett. I actually found it quite difficult to read in places. But the fact that I still gave it a 5 stars just goes to show you how beautiful Turgenev's writing is. I just ate it up. I will be doing a dedicated review on this one as well because it deserves time to be spoken about, and I want to try and convince as many of you to read it as possible. But I loved it. It was fantastic, and yeah, you'll hear more in my review. So overall, a very good month and a nice kind of spread across different genres. Let's move now into what I'm going to read in the month of August. Again, there's quite a good spread, so let's kick off. And this is not in any particular order. I will read kind of depending on my mood and things like that. So the first book that I will actually definitely be picking up will be the first book in the Dagger and Coin series by Daniel Abraham. We'll be doing a buddy read in my channel. I'm so excited to read this series. If all goes well, I'll be reading a book a month, so by the end of the year, we should be hopefully finished with it. I just can't wait. I can't wait. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. The next on my list is His Excellency Eugene Rougon by Emile Zola. I'm going to be reading a book every other month with Michael and potentially Matt once we've caught up to him. And this is Zola's magnum opus as well. He's got like, I think it's like 15, 20 books in this series. They all kind of interconnect. It's insane. But I really like the first book. I'm really excited to see where this next book goes. Then we have The Black Company, book 1, which I also think is just called The Black Company by Glenn Cook. Can't wait to start this series finally. I just have to start. Yeah. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. Then I have a book that I'm dying to read, and Ivan, you'll be happy to hear that I'll be picking this up this month, and that is Balthazar's Odyssey by Amin Maalouf. I've been saying it time and time again, Maalouf is an author that I need to read. I was planning to read Samarkand, I think it was last month or the month before that, but I just didn't get to it. So I'm just going to start with Balthazar's Odyssey and take it from there, but I'm super, super excited. Then I really want to pick up a book by Dumas. So I'm going to reread 20 Years Later by Alexandre Dumas. This is kind of considered to be one of the sequels to The Three Musketeers. And yeah, I have actually read this book before, but I read it quite a long time ago, where I've reread The Three Musketeers multiple times now. I've never reread 20 Years Later. So I've picked up a new translation, the one by Lawrence Ellison, and I'm going to hopefully read that this month because it's also not too big. My other option for classic this month was going to be Don Quixote by Cervantes. My copy of that is over 1,000 pages and I'm just not going to get to it. So I decided to land with 20 Years Later by Dumas. Then we potentially have Swan in Love by Marcel Proust. I wanted to read this one. I think, again, it was last month, but I didn't get to it. So I'm hopefully going to pick that one up. Then I will be reading Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami, and I'll be reading this with Cheryl. It's just one of those kind of typical Japanese literature books that is very quiet, very character-driven, almost got a slice of life element to it that you all know that I love. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. And then there's a couple of maybes. So I would like to start reading Borges at some point in the next couple of months. So I will try to get to one of his shorter books this month potentially. If any of you have read Borges, let me know down below in the comments where you would recommend starting. If you could recommend me like a shorter book, because I do have some pretty big books on my list this month, that'd be great. And I can start there. We might also pick up Gunmetal Gods by Zamir Akhtar, which is the first book in the Gunmetal Gods trilogy. I do believe there is also a prequel, but you're supposed to read that after book 1. James and I will be picking that up potentially. I've been wanting to read that series for ages. I love the sound of it and it's been on my list forever. Like, I've owned the books pretty much since they came out. So I'm excited for that. Hopefully we can get to that this month, but we'll see. And then another potential option is reading The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu, which is the second book in the Dandelion Dynasty series. So pretty fantasy heavy, actually. I think this is like the first month in a long time where the majority of the books that I've talked about like are fantasy or have some fantasy element in it. That's new and I'm very excited for it. I mean, hopefully this won't be short-lived. Hopefully these will all be hits and that will keep going, because I have been wanting to read more fantasy again, but just what I've been reading has not really been hitting until Ken Liu. So there we go. So that's it, folks. That's what I'm planning to read in the month of August, and that's what I read in the month of July. So as always, let me know down below in the comments what you read in the month of July, what were your hits, what were your misses, and then what are you planning to read in the month of August. I can't believe that summer is almost over, at least here in the UK. We've probably got a month or two left of summer and then that's when it will start to cool down. But yeah, it's been a pretty interesting reading summer, I think. I might do like a video on this about my favourite books that I read over the summer. But yeah, anyway, I'm excited to take the conversation down below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. Many of you are not subscribed to my channel. Only like 30-40% of you who watch my videos consistently are actually subscribed to my channel. So that means like over half of you aren't subscribed. So please do consider subscribing. Every little does help, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe as always, take care, and I will see you in my next one.